The sound of thick cardstock tearing was louder than the jet engines humming outside the terminal window. It was a sharp, violent rip that silenced the murmuring crowd in the first-class check-in line. Beatrice Geller, the senior gate agent for Royal Horizon Airlines, held the two halves of the boarding pass in her manicured hands, dropping them onto the counter like trash. Her lip curled in disgust as she looked down at the young woman in the oversized grey hoodie standing before her. "We don't accept forgeries here, and we certainly don't tolerate scammers." Beatrice spat her voice, dripping with practiced condescension. "Security is on their way. Step aside before I make this worse for you." Sasha Sterling didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked at the torn pieces of her ticket, a ticket issued directly from the CEO's private office, and then up at Beatrice. Sasha's calmness was unsettling, a quiet before a storm that Beatrice couldn't possibly predict. Beatrice thought she was discarding a stowaway. She had no idea she had just declared war on the owner's daughter. JFK International Airport was a chaotic symphony of rolling suitcases, crying toddlers, and the incessant drone of announcements, but Terminal 4's first-class wing was usually a sanctuary of hush and polish. It was designed to smell like white tea and old money. Sasha Sterling adjusted the strap of her canvas duffel bag. It was old, frayed at the edges, and covered in patches from national parks. To the untrained eye, she looked like a college student backpacking home for the holidays on a shoestring budget. She wore faded denim jeans, scuffed white sneakers, and a hoodie that was 2 sizes too big. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she wore 0 makeup. She preferred it this way. Sasha hated the pomp and circumstance that usually accompanied her last name. Being a Sterling meant cameras, fake smiles, and people asking for favors. Being just Sasha meant she could breathe. She approached the counter marked Royal Horizon, first-class priority. The carpet here was thicker, the lighting softer. Behind the desk stood 2 agents. One was a young man with messy brown hair and a nervous energy typing furiously on his computer. His name tag read Tom. Beside him stood the gatekeeper, Beatrice Geller. Beatrice was a fixture at Royal Horizon. She was a woman in her late 40s with hair sprayed into a helmet of blonde perfection and a uniform that was tailored a little too tightly. She wore her authority like armor. She was currently chatting with a tall man in a bespoke suit, laughing a little too loudly at his jokes. "Oh, Mr. Henderson, you're too much," Beatrice giggled, handing him his boarding pass with a flourish. "We've blocked off the seat next to you just as you like. Champagne is already on ice." "Thanks, B. You're a lifesaver, Mr." Henderson said, winking before grabbing his leather briefcase and sauntering toward security. Sasha stepped forward to the empty counter space. Beatrice's smile vanished instantly. It didn't fade. It was deleted. She looked down at her computer screen, tapping a few keys, deliberately ignoring the young woman standing 2 feet away. Sasha waited. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. "Excuse me," Sasha said, her voice soft but clear. Beatrice didn't look up. She picked up a stapler, aligned some papers, and stapled them. Thwack. "Checking in for flight RH404 to London." Sasha tried again. Beatrice finally looked up. Her eyes swept over Sasha, starting at the scuffed sneakers, moving up the faded jeans, pausing on the hoodie, and finally landing on Sasha's face. It was a look of clinical assessment, analyzing worth and finding a deficit. "The economy line is around the corner past the restrooms," Beatrice said, her voice flat. She pointed a manicured finger toward the crowded, chaotic desks 50 yards away. "This is priority. Members only." I know, Sasha said, reaching into her pocket. I'm on this flight, seat 1A. Beatrice let out a sharp, incredulous huff of air, a laugh disguised as a cough. Even Tom, the younger agent, stopped typing and looked up, his eyes widening slightly. Seat 1A was the flagship suite. It wasn't just a seat. It was a small apartment in the sky. It usually cost $15,000 one way. Seat 1A, Beatrice repeated, savoring the absurdity of the claim. She leaned over the counter, lowering her voice as if explaining quantum physics to a toddler. Sweetheart, Seat 1A is reserved for full-fare dignitaries and global elite members. It's not for standby upgrades. It's not an upgrade, Sasha said, pulling out her printed boarding pass. It was on heavy cream-colored paper, distinct from the flimsy thermal receipts most passengers got. I have my ticket right here. She placed the document on the pristine white counter. It bore the golden crest of Royal Horizon. The name Sasha Sterling was printed in bold, elegant font. Beatrice didn't even read the name. Her eyes locked onto the paper itself. She saw a young black woman in street clothes handing her a document that looked too fancy, too perfect. In Beatrice's mind, the equation didn't balance. Tom, Beatrice snapped, not taking her eyes off Sasha. Call security. Tom blinked. Maybe we should just scan. I said call security, Beatrice hissed. We have a fraudulent document situation. Sasha frowned, her patience beginning to fray at the edges. It's not fraudulent. If you just scan the QR code, I don't need to scan anything to know when someone is trying to play me, Beatrice interrupted, crossing her arms. I've been in this industry for 20 years. I know what a first-class passenger looks like, and I know what a scammer looks like. The air around them seemed to drop 10 degrees. The bustling noise of the terminal faded into the background as the confrontation became the center of gravity for everyone nearby. Sasha took a deep breath, channeling the lessons her father had taught her about business. Never lose your temper in a negotiation. Whoever screams first loses. My name is Sasha Sterling, she said, enunciating every syllable. My identification matches the ticket. I am asking you one last time to do your job and check me in. Beatrice let out a harsh laugh. She picked up the ticket, holding it by the corner, as if it were contaminated. Sterling, she mocked. Like the silver, or are you claiming relation to Robert Sterling? He's my father, Sasha said simply. Beatrice stared at her for a long, silent moment. Then she threw her head back and laughed. It was a loud, ugly sound that drew the attention of the entire queue behind Sasha. Mostly businessmen and wealthy tourists who were now watching the scene with a mix of annoyance and amusement. Did you hear that Tom? Beatrice called out, performing for the audience. We have royalty in our presence. The owner's daughter decided to fly commercial today, and she decided to dress like she'd just rolled out of a dumpster. A few people in line chuckled. Sasha felt the heat rising in her cheeks, not from shame, but from anger. Look, honey, Beatrice said, her voice dropping the sarcasm and becoming cold and hard. I don't know where you printed this. Maybe you have a good printer at home. Maybe you stole someone's template. But Robert Sterling doesn't have a daughter who looks like you. The racism wasn't even veiled anymore. It was out in the open, naked and ugly. What is that supposed to mean? Sasha asked, her voice dropping an octave. It means, Beatrice sneered, leaning in close, that people like you don't sit in 1A. People like you carry the luggage for the people in 1A. Tom stood up, looking panicked. B, stop. Let me just check the manifest. Sit down, Tom, Beatrice commanded. She looked back at Sasha. You're holding up the line. I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to confiscate this fake ticket, and I'm going to let you walk away before the police get here and arrest you for fraud." "I'm not walking away," Sasha said, planting her feet. "And that is my property." "It's Airline property," Beatrice corrected. "And as the senior gate agent, I have the authority to destroy void documents." And then she did it. Beatrice gripped the heavy cardstock with both hands. She maintained eye contact with Sasha, a look of pure malice in her eyes, and ripped the ticket down the middle. Rip! The sound was shocking. The queue gasped. Tom's jaw dropped. Sasha stood frozen. She watched as Beatrice put the two halves together and ripped them again, dropping the quarters onto the counter. "Now." Beatrice dusted her hands off. "Get out of my line before I have you banned from the airport permanently." Sasha looked at the confetti that used to be her boarding pass. Her father had hand-delivered that to her the night before. He had written a note on the back, "Safe travels, sweetie. Call me when you land." That note was now shredded. Sasha slowly reached into her hoodie pocket. Beatrice flinched, perhaps expecting a weapon, but Sasha only pulled out a sleek black smartphone. "You really shouldn't have done that," Sasha said. Her voice was terrifyingly calm. "Calling your daddy," Beatrice mocked, turning to the next passenger. "Next in line, please. Sorry for the delay, folks. Just clearing out the riffraff." A heavy-set man in a suit stepped forward, bumping Sasha's shoulder as he moved to the counter. "About time," he grumbled. "These people have no respect for other people's time." Sasha stepped back, isolating herself from the counter. She unlocked her phone. She didn't scroll through contacts. She pressed a single speed dial number. It rang once. "Princess," the deep, warm voice of Robert Sterling answered. "You bored yet? I'm tracking the flight. Looks like you're on time." "Dad," Sasha said, her voice trembling slightly, not from tears but from the adrenaline of the kill. "I'm at the gate. I'm not on the plane." "Why not traffic?" "No," Sasha said, staring directly at Beatrice, who was now fawning over the heavy-set man. "The senior gate agent, Beatrice Geller. She just ripped up my ticket." There was a silence on the other end of the line, a silence so heavy it felt like the air pressure in the terminal dropped. "She did what, Robert's voice was no longer warm. It was the voice that had crushed competitors and acquired hostile companies. "She said it was fake," Sasha continued loud enough for Tom to hear. "She said people like me don't sit in 1A, and then she shredded the pass you gave me." "Stay right there," Robert said. "Do not move. Put the phone on speaker." While Sasha held the phone, the situation at the counter was deteriorating. Tom, the junior agent, was looking at his computer screen with a face draining of all color. He had finally done what Beatrice refused to do. He typed in the passenger name Sasha Sterling. The screen had flashed red, then gold, the highest clearance level in the system. VVIP. Do not offload. Owner family. "Beer," Tom whispered, his voice shaking. "Beer. Look at the screen. Not now, Tom. I'm issuing Mr. Lewis his luggage tags," Beatrice snapped. "B, you have to look," Tom hissed, desperation creeping into his voice. "The manifest. Seat 1A. It's real. It's her." Beatrice paused, a luggage tag hovering in her hand. She frowned, annoyed by his persistence, and finally glanced at his monitor. She squinted. She saw the name. She saw the clearance code. Corp 01. For a split second, doubt flickered in her eyes. But Beatrice Geller was a woman who had survived by never admitting fault. She doubled down. "It's a system glitch," she muttered, though her voice lacked its previous conviction. "Hackers. She probably hacked the app." That girl in a hoodie is not a VVIP. Excuse me, a voice came from the side. It was the man Beatrice had helped earlier, Mr. Henderson. He hadn't gone to security yet. He had been watching the entire exchange from a few feet away. I don't mean to interfere, Henderson said, his tone serious. But I saw the ticket before you ripped it. It looked authentic, and frankly, the way you spoke to this young woman was appalling. Beatrice's face flushed red. Mr. Henderson, with all due respect, this is a security matter. We have protocols. Is ripping up a passenger's property part of the protocol? Henderson asked. I fly this airline 3 times a week. I've never seen such behavior. She's a fraud, Beatrice insisted, her voice rising, becoming shrill. She's trying to steal a seat. I'm on speaker, Sasha announced. The cutting voice of her father echoed from the small smartphone speakers, sharp and commanding. This is Robert Sterling. Who am I speaking to? Beatrice froze. She knew that voice. Everyone in the company knew that voice. It played on the safety videos. It played in the annual holiday greeting. It was the voice of God within the walls of Royal Horizon Airlines. But panic makes people do stupid things. Beatrice laughed nervously. Oh, that's a good trick. You have a recording, or did you get a friend to do an impression, you kids and your AI apps? I asked for your name, Robert roared through the phone. If you are the employee who just assaulted my daughter, you have exactly 10 seconds to explain yourself before I have the airport police remove you from my terminal. Beatrice's hands started to tremble. The other passengers fell dead silent. Sir, Tom stammered, leaning toward the phone on the counter where Sasha had placed it. Sir, this is Tom Miller. I'm the junior agent here. The passenger, Ms. Sterling. She is checked in on my system. I see her status. Good, Tom, Robert said, his voice softening slightly. Tom is Beatrice Geller, standing next to you. Yes, sir, Tom squeaked. Tell her to look at the security camera directly above her station. Tell her I'm watching the live feed from my office. Beatrice slowly, dreadfully lifted her head. High on the pillar above the desk, the dark dome of a security camera stared back at her. The red LED light blinked once. Sasha picked up the phone. Dad? She's not saying anything. That's fine, Robert said. I've already called the station manager. He's 2 minutes away. And Sasha, yeah, Dad, hand the phone to Beatrice. I want to have a private word. Sasha held the phone out. Her arm was steady. Beatrice looked at the black device like it was a loaded gun. Take it, Sasha said. He wants to talk to you. With shaking fingers, Beatrice took the phone. She brought it to her ear. Hello, she whispered. The passengers strained to hear, but whatever Robert Sterling said to her was for her ears only. They watched as Beatrice's face went from pale to ghostly white. Her knees actually buckled, and she had to grab the counter to stop from sliding to the floor. Tears welled up in her eyes, smearing her mascara. I didn't know, she stammered into the phone. I thought... She stopped, realizing that any defense based on appearance would only dig her grave deeper. She handed the phone back to Sasha as if it were burning hot. She looked like she was going to be sick. Tom, Beatrice rasped, her voice a shadow of its former arrogance. Print Ms. Sterling a new boarding pass. No, Sasha said. She didn't take the phone back yet. I don't want a new pass from you, and I don't want you on this gate when I board. Beatrice swallowed hard. I can't leave my post. At that moment, the double doors behind the counter burst open. A man in a dark blue suit, looking breathless and terrified, sprinted out. It was Mr. Collins, the station manager for JFK. he was flanked by 2 airport police officers. "Miss Sterling," Collins gasped, rushing past the line of stunned passengers to Sasha. "Miss Sterling, I am so incredibly sorry. Mr. Sterling just called me." He turned to Beatrice. His face was purple with rage. "Geller," Collins barked. "Get your bag. Step away from the computer, now." "Mr. Collins, Now!" Collins screamed. "You are relieved of duty immediately. The police will escort you to the secure zone for questioning regarding the destruction of passenger documents and discriminatory conduct." Beatrice looked around. The passengers she had tried to impress were staring at her with judgment. Mr. Henderson shook his head in disgust. The riff-raff girl in the hoodie stood tall, flanked by the highest manager in the airport. Beatrice grabbed her purse, her hands shaking so bad she dropped her lipstick. She didn't pick it up. She walked out from behind the counter, head low, flanked by the police officers. Sasha watched her go. The first battle was won, but the war wasn't over. As Beatrice was led away, she shot one last look at Sasha, a look of pure, venomous hatred. She wasn't sorry she did it. She was sorry she got caught. And Sasha knew this wasn't just about a ticket anymore. The walk down the jet bridge felt less like boarding a vacation flight and more like entering a gladiator arena. Mr. Collins, the station manager, had escorted Sasha to the aircraft door, apologizing profusely the entire way. He was sweating, his tie loosened, clearly terrified that his career was hanging by a thread because of Beatrice's actions. "We have alerted the crew to your presence, Ms. Sterling," Collins said, wiping his forehead with a handkerchief as they reached the aircraft door. "The captain is busy with pre-flight checks, but the lead flight attendant, Veronica, will take excellent care of you. I've personally upgraded your meal service to the chef's table selection." "Thank you, Mr. Collins. That's enough," Sasha said, her voice tired. She just wanted to sleep. Collins nodded, too afraid to step onto the plane itself, and retreated up the bridge. Sasha stepped across the gap and onto the plush carpet of the Boeing 777. Standing in the galley was Veronica. Veronica was a tall, statuesque woman with dark hair pulled back so tightly it pulled at the corners of her eyes. She had the kind of beauty that was cold and sharp. She was currently texting furiously on her phone, her back turned to the door. "Excuse me," Sasha said. Veronica spun around. Her eyes landed on Sasha, and there was no welcoming smile. There was immediate, flash-frozen recognition. The airport gossip mill moved faster than the speed of sound. Veronica clearly already knew exactly what had happened to Beatrice. Beatrice wasn't just a colleague. They were likely lunch partners, co-conspirators in the hierarchy of airline pettiness. "Boarding pass," Veronica demanded, holding out a hand without putting her phone away. Sasha held out the fresh boarding pass Tom had printed. Veronica snatched it, glanced at it, and then looked at Sasha with a mixture of disbelief and disdain. "1A," Veronica said, her voice dripping with skepticism. "Turn left, first suite on the left." She didn't offer to take Sasha's coat. She didn't offer to show her the features of the suite. She didn't offer the signature pre-flight champagne. She simply turned her back and started aggressively arranging a stack of napkins. Sasha walked into the first-class cabin. It was an exclusive sanctuary of only 8 suites. The walls were lined with burl wood. The seats were upholstered in soft Italian leather, and a single red rose sat in a crystal vase at every seat. Mr. Henderson, the man from the terminal who had defended her, was settling into seat 2A, directly behind her. He gave her a nod of respect. "Glad you made it," he murmured. "Justice is sweet, isn't it? It's exhausting," Sasha admitted, dropping her canvas bag into the overhead bin. She sat down in 1A. The seat was massive, capable of reclining into a fully flat bed. She pressed the button to close the electronic privacy partition, just wanting a moment of peace. It didn't last long. 5 minutes later, Veronica swept through the cabin with a tray of crystal flutes filled with Dom Perignon. She stopped at 2A. "Mr. Henderson, wonderful to see you again." She purred, her voice transforming into a melodic customer service performance. "Champagne. We also have warm macadamia nuts." "Thank you, Veronica," Henderson said. Veronica moved across the aisle to 1K, then 2K, serving the other passengers. Then she walked straight past 1A, heading back to the galley. Sasha lowered her partition. "Excuse me." Veronica stopped her back stiff. She turned slowly. "Yes?" "May I have some water, please?" Sasha asked. "We're holding the champagne for full-fare passengers right now," Veronica said, her smile not reaching her eyes. "I'll bring you a water bottle once we're in the air. We're busy with departure prep." "You just served everyone else," Sasha noted, her eyes narrowing. "They are frequent flyers, Mrs. Sterling," Veronica said the name like it was a dirty word. "We prioritize our loyal customers. I'm sure you understand. Corporate upgrades usually have to wait until service starts." "I'm not a corporate upgrade," Sasha said firmly. "Right." Veronica said, her tone implying, "Sure you aren't." "I'll get to you when I can." She turned and walked away. Sasha sat back, stunned. Beatrice had been loud and aggressive. Veronica was different. She was subtle. She was waging a war of microaggressions, hiding behind protocol and busyness. She knew she couldn't kick Sasha off, so she was going to make the next 7 hours miserable. The plane pushed back. The safety video played. Sasha watched her father's face on the screen, explaining the emergency exits, feeling a strange disconnect between his warm authority and the icy reality she was experiencing. As the plane climbed to 30,000 feet, the seatbelt sign turned off. The smell of dinner wafted through the cabin: roast beef, truffle oil, freshly baked bread. Veronica appeared with a tablecloth. She laid it out for Mr. Henderson. She laid it out for the man in 1K. She laid it out for everyone. When she got to Sasha, she placed a small paper napkin on the tray table. "Where is the tablecloth?" Sasha asked. "We seemed to be one short." Veronica lied smoothly. "Laundry services have been terrible lately. I'm sure you don't mind." Sasha didn't say anything. She watched as Veronica returned with the meal trays. Everyone received beautiful porcelain plates with steaming steak or lobster. Veronica placed a tray in front of Sasha. It wasn't the chef's table steak Mr. Collins had promised. It was the crew meal, a lukewarm tin foil container with dry chicken and soggy broccoli. "What is this?" Sasha asked, looking at the sad meal. "We ran out of the steak," Veronica said, checking her nails. "This is the chicken option. It's very popular. I heard Mr. Collins tell you specifically to give me the chef's table," Sasha said, her voice rising slightly. Veronica leaned in, placing one hand on Sasha's sweet wall. The customer service mask dropped completely. "Look," she whispered, her voice a hiss. "You might have gotten Beatrice fired because you cried to Daddy on the phone, but up here you're in my house. You're sitting in a seat you didn't earn, probably on a free pass that implies you should be grateful for whatever you get. So eat the chicken or starve. I don't care." Sasha stared at her. "You have no idea who I am, do you?" "I know exactly who you are," Veronica sneered. "You're a spoiled brat who got a good woman fired today, and I'm going to make sure you remember this flight." Veronica straightened up, smoothed her uniform, and walked away. Sasha looked down at the cold chicken. She wasn't hungry anymore. She pushed the tray away and closed her eyes. She needed to wait. If she caused a scene now, Veronica would claim Sasha was being disruptive. Sasha needed proof. She didn't know that the proof was about to come in the form of a crime she didn't commit. 3 hours into the flight, the cabin was dark. Most passengers were sleeping. The only light came from the soft blue LEDs running along the floor and the glow of the entertainment screens. Sasha had managed to doze off despite the hunger gnawing at her stomach. She woke up needing to use the restroom. She slid out of her suite, careful not to disturb the silence, and walked to the front lavatory. When she came out 5 minutes later, the lights in the galley were blazing. Veronica was standing inside Sasha's suite. She was rummaging through Sasha's canvas bag. "Hey!" Sasha shouted, forgetting to whisper. "What are you doing?" Veronica jumped back, holding Sasha's bag. In her other hand, she held a silver serving spoon and a crystal salt shaker from the dinner service. "I knew it," Veronica said loudly, her voice echoing in the quiet cabin. "I saw you eyeing them." "What are you talking about?" Sasha stepped forward, grabbing her bag back. "Get out of my seat." "I was doing a security check," Veronica announced, turning to face the other passengers, who were now waking up, groggy and confused. Mr. Henderson sat up, blinking. "And look what I found. She's stealing the serviceware." "I didn't touch those," Sasha yelled. "You planted them." "Oh, please," Veronica scoffed. "We have a theft problem on every flight with non-revenue passengers. They think the silverware is a souvenir. This is federal property, miss. Theft of airline equipment is a felony." "You are insane," Sasha said, her hands shaking with rage. "You put those in my bag while I was in the bathroom." "Why would I do that?" Veronica asked, playing the innocent victim perfectly. "I'm the purser. I'm protecting the airline's assets." "You're doing this because of Beatrice." "I'm doing this because you're a thief," Veronica snapped. She reached for the wall interphone. "I'm calling the captain. We're going to have the police meet the plane in London. You're going to jail, honey." Sasha felt trapped. It was her word against the purser's. In the air, the crew's word was law. The other passengers were murmuring. They saw the silver in Veronica's hand. It looked bad. "Call him," Sasha challenged. "Call the captain." "Oh, I will." Veronica dialed a code. "Captain, we have a security incident in first class. Passenger in 1A has been caught stealing service items and is becoming aggressive. I need you to authorize restraints." Restraints. She was going to zip-tie Sasha. The cockpit door, located just a few feet away from the galley, clicked. The electronic lock disengaged. The heavy door swung open. Captain Arthur Pendergast stepped out. He was a man of 60 with silver hair and 4 gold stripes on his shoulders. He was a legend at Royal Horizon, the chief pilot of the entire fleet. He had flown Sasha to her first boarding school. He had taught her how to read an altimeter when she was 10. He rubbed his eyes, looking stern. "What is going on out here? I can hear you through the reinforced door." "Captain," Veronica said, stepping forward with the silver spoon, like it was a smoking gun. This passenger, the upgrade in 1A, was stealing silverware. When I confronted her, she became verbally abusive. "I'm recommending we restrain her for the duration of the flight." Captain Pendergast looked at the spoon. Then he looked at Sasha. Sasha stood there, in her oversized hoodie, her arms crossed, looking at him with an expression that said, "Really?" Captain Pendergast's eyes widened. He blinked twice, as if checking his own vision. A slow smile spread across his face, not a polite smile, but a warm, familial one. "Sasha?" the captain asked, his voice softening completely. "Hi, Captain Pendergast," Sasha said dryly. Apparently I'm stealing spoons now. Veronica froze. She looked from the captain to Sasha and back to the captain. You know her, sir. Captain Pendergast laughed. It was a hearty, deep laugh. Know her, Veronica. Do you know what the registration code of this aircraft is? Veronica blinked, confused by the technical question. GROS. Close. It's G. Rosa. Pendergast corrected. Short for Rosa Sterling. This plane is named after this young woman's grandmother. The color drained from Veronica's face so fast it looked like she might faint. The silver spoon slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the floor. Grandmother, Veronica squeaked. This is Sasha Sterling, Pendergast announced, his voice projecting to the entire first-class cabin. Daughter of Robert Sterling, and if I remember correctly from the last board meeting I attended, the newly appointed Director of Customer Experience for Royal Horizon Airlines. The silence that followed was absolute. Sasha stepped forward, picking up the spoon from the carpet. She held it out to Veronica. I didn't steal it, Veronica, Sasha said calmly. But you just tried to frame a senior executive for theft. Veronica was trembling. I didn't know. You thought I was nobody, Sasha finished. You judged me by my hoodie. You judged me by my skin. And you decided to punish me because your friend Beatrice got caught doing the exact same thing. Captain Pendergast's face turned thunderous. He looked at Veronica with cold fury. Veronica, did you plant this evidence? Veronica's voice failed her. She looked around for an escape, but there was nowhere to go at 35,000 feet. Answer me, Pendergast commanded. Yes, she whispered, tears instantly spilling over. I wanted to scare her. You committed a felony, Pendergast said. Tampering with a passenger falsifying a security threat. That is a federal offense, Veronica. Please, Captain, Veronica begged, grabbing his sleeve. I've been with the airline for 15 years. Please. Pendergast pulled his arm away. Go to the crew rest bunker. You are relieved of duty. You are not to speak to any passengers or crew for the remainder of this flight. When we land in London, the authorities will meet the plane, but they won't be here for Ms. Sterling. Veronica sobbed, her composure shattered. She stumbled backward, retreating through the galley curtain, disappearing into the back of the plane like a ghost. Captain Pendergast turned to the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the disturbance. Please go back to sleep. The drinks are on the house. He turned to Sasha, his face softening again. I'm so sorry, Sasha. Your father told me you were flying, but I didn't check the manifest until now. I would have come out sooner. It's okay, Arthur, Sasha said, finally smiling. I think I handled it. You certainly did, he chuckled. Now I believe you were promised a chef's table meal. I'm pretty sure the first officer can fly the plane for a bit while I heat up a steak for you myself. Sasha laughed. I'd love that. As Sasha sat back down in 1A, Mr. Henderson leaned forward from the row behind. Director of Customer Experience, he asked, grinning. Technically, I start on Monday, Sasha whispered back. But I think I've already started my field research. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Henderson laughed, raising his glass. Sasha settled into the soft leather. The plane hummed smoothly. The antagonist was gone. The truth was out, but the story wasn't over. Landing in London was supposed to be the end of the journey, but Sasha knew that what happened on this flight would send shockwaves through the entire company. She wasn't just a passenger anymore. She was the cleaner, and there was still one more twist waiting for her when the wheels touched down. The descent into London Heathrow was smooth. the heavy clouds parting to reveal the sprawling grey metropolis below. Inside the cabin of Rosa Sterling, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. The news of the silverware incident had travelled through the plane like a contagion. Economy passengers were craning their necks, trying to catch a glimpse of the first-class curtain. Sasha sat in 1A, looking out the window, sipping a fresh orange juice that a terrified junior flight attendant had brought her, with shaking hands. She wasn't thinking about the view. She was thinking about the phone notification she had received the moment the plane connected to the ground Wi-Fi. Trending topic: Airline. Karen. A video shaky and vertical filmed by a passenger in the JFK queue had been uploaded to TikTok. It showed Beatrice Geller ripping the ticket. It showed her sneering face. It showed Sasha standing calm and dignified in her hoodie. The caption read, "Royal Horizon. Staff rips up black girl's ticket for no reason. Wait for the dad to answer the phone. It had 45 million views in 7 hours." The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Pendergast. We have touched down in London. We ask that all passengers remain seated with seatbelts fastened. We have local authorities boarding the aircraft to deal with a security matter. Please remain calm." The plane taxied to a remote stand far from the main terminal gates. This was standard procedure for high-security arrests. The aircraft door opened. The cold London air rushed in, mixing with the recycled cabin air. 3 officers from the Metropolitan Police boarded. They were led by a tall, stern woman with a high-visibility vest over her uniform, Inspector Graves. Captain Pendergast met them at the door. He didn't say a word. He simply pointed toward the rear crew rest bunks. Moments later, Veronica was led out. She wasn't wearing her blazer anymore, just her white uniform shirt, which looked wrinkled and sad. Her wrists were bound in front of her with silver handcuffs. She looked at the floor, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. As they marched her through the first-class cabin, the silence was deafening. Mr. Henderson, still sipping his coffee, watched her go with a look of grim satisfaction. Veronica paused for a fraction of a second as she passed seat 1A. She looked up, her eyes red and puffy. She opened her mouth as if to say something, an apology, a plea. But Sasha didn't even turn her head. Sasha continued to look out the window, watching the fuel trucks. Veronica had made her choice when she planted that spoon. She was no longer Sasha's problem. "Move along," Inspector Graves said, guiding Veronica out the door and down the stairs to a waiting police van. Once the police were clear, the captain nodded to the remaining crew. "Let's deplane. Ms. Sterling first." Sasha grabbed her battered duffel bag. She walked to the door, thanked Captain Pendergast, and stepped onto the mobile stairs. She expected a quiet car to take her to the terminal. What she found was a siege. At the bottom of the stairs, behind a temporary barrier, were at least 20 photographers and news crews. The viral video had done more than just annoy the internet. It had alerted the global media. They knew the flight number. They knew she was on it. Sasha over here. Ms. Sterling, is it true you're the owner's daughter? Did they really frame you for theft? What do you have to say to Beatrice Geller?" Flashbulbs popped in the grey morning light, blinding and aggressive. A black Range Rover with tinted windows pulled up to the stairs. A security detail jumped out, creating a corridor for her. Sasha paused on the last step. Her father's PR training kicked in. If you run, you look guilty. If you hide, you look weak. Control the narrative. She didn't get in the car immediately. She stopped, put her bag down on the wet tarmac, and turned to the press. The shouting died down instantly. They hadn't expected her to engage. I won't be answering questions, Sasha said, her voice projecting clearly without a microphone. But I will say this. Royal Horizon Airlines was built on the principle that every passenger is royalty. Yesterday and today, we failed that principle. She looked directly into the lens of the nearest camera. The employees involved have been removed, but this isn't just about two bad apples. It's about a culture that judges people by their clothes, their skin color, and their perceived net worth. My father built this company, but I'm going to fix it. Starting Monday, there will be no more invisible passengers. Everyone gets seen. Thank you. She picked up her bag, ignored the barrage of follow-up screams, and slid into the back of the Range Rover. As the heavy door slammed shut, sealing out the noise, Sasha finally exhaled. Her hands were shaking. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her father. Saw the live stream. You looked like a CEO. Proud of you. Now come home. We have work to do. The boardroom on the 40th floor of Sterling Tower was a fortress of glass and mahogany, floating high above the grey grid of Manhattan. Usually the atmosphere in this room was one of quiet, confident wealth. Today, however, it smelled of fear. 20 men and women sat around the oval table. They were the board of directors for Royal Horizon Airlines, titans of industry, who controlled billions of dollars. But right now, they looked like schoolboys waiting for the principal. On the massive screens covering the north wall, a graph line plummeted like a stone dropped from a bridge. It was the company's public approval rating. At the head of the table sat Robert Sterling. He didn't speak. He just tapped a silver pen against the polished wood, a rhythmic click, click, click that echoed in the silence. The double doors swung open. Sasha Sterling walked in. The grey hoodie and worn-out sneakers were gone. In their place, she wore a tailored navy suit that looked like armor. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek, severe bun, and her heels clicked on the marble floor with military precision. She didn't look like a 20-something heiress. She looked like an executioner. She didn't take a seat. She walked straight to the podium at the front of the room, plugging her tablet into the console. "Good morning," Sasha said. Her voice was calm, but it carried a weight that made Mr. Alistair, the board's most vocal skeptic, sit up straighter. "I assume you've all seen the numbers." "We're bleeding, Sasha," Alistair grunted, throwing a report onto the table. "Cancellations are up 20%. Our premium flyers are defecting to British Airways. The internet is calling us Royal Horror Airlines. We need damage control. We need to issue a statement saying Beatrice Geller was a rogue employee and move on." "Beatrice Geller was not a rogue employee," Sasha corrected him sharply. "She was the employee of the month 3 times last year." The room went deadly silent. Sasha tapped the screen. A photo of Beatrice appeared smiling with a plaque. Next to her was a photo of Veronica. "We rewarded Beatrice for keeping the lounge exclusive." Sasha continued, pacing the front of the room. "We gave Veronica bonuses based on how much inventory she saved, which encouraged her to treat passengers as potential thieves. We didn't just hire them, gentlemen. We designed them." She pressed a button. The screen changed. It was now a list of bullet points titled "The Sterling Standard." "This stops today," Sasha announced. "My father has appointed me Director of Customer Experience with absolute veto power over service protocols. Here is the new reality." "The first item," Sasha said, pointing to the screen, "the abolition of the look policy." "What does that mean?" asked Mrs. Halloway, a board member from the finance sector. "It means," Sasha said, locking eyes with her, "that our internal training manuals currently instruct agents to profile for affluence. We tell them to prioritize suits over sweats. That ends. If a passenger has a ticket, they are a guest. Period. I am firing the entire external training firm that taught Beatrice how to spot a fake ticket based on shoes. A murmur of dissent rippled through the room. Secondly, Sasha's voice rose over the grumbling, the zero-tolerance protocol. Any employee found demeaning a passenger based on race appearance or economic status will be terminated immediately. No warnings, no union arbitration for hate speech. I've already spoken to the union head. After seeing the video of me being harassed, they agreed not to fight us on this. Mr. Allister shook his head. Sasha, be reasonable. You're asking for a culture shift that will take years. You can't just legislate kindness. Our agents are stressed. They deal with difficult people all day. I know, Sasha said softly. That's why the third point is the most important. She clicked the remote. The screen displayed a new program name, the Invisible Passenger Initiative. Effective immediately. Every person in this room, including you, Mr. Allister and you, Dad, will be required to fly 4 segments a year in economy class. The reaction was visceral. Mr. Allister actually laughed. Excuse me, I haven't flown coach since 1990. Then you have no business selling the product, Sasha shot back. You will fly economy. You will wear street clothes. You will not use your corporate ID or skip the security line. You will check a bag and pray it doesn't get lost. You will eat the pretzels. This is absurd, Allister sputtered, looking to Robert for support. Robert, surely you don't support this theatrics. Robert Sterling stopped tapping his pen. He slowly stood up. He looked at his old friend Allister with a cold smile. Actually, Allister, Robert said, I think it's brilliant. I flew to Chicago yesterday in seat 34B to test it out. The room gasped. And you know what? Robert continued. The tray table was broken, the coffee was cold, and the flight attendant looked exhausted because she was working a double shift. We sit in this tower and count money while our product rots. Sasha is right. If we don't eat our own cooking, we don't deserve to run the restaurant. Robert turned to Sasha. The motion carries. Implement the standard. 3 days later, Sasha wasn't in the boardroom. She was in the trenches. She stood in the crew briefing center at JFK, a large fluorescent-lit room where flight attendants gathered before their shifts. The room was buzzing with nervous energy. Everyone knew who she was now. The girl in the hoodie was standing at the podium. The air was thick with tension. Many of these crews had known Veronica. Some probably sympathized with her. I know you're scared. Sasha began speaking without a microphone. I know you think I'm here to purge the company, to fire anyone who looks at a passenger wrong. She walked off the stage and into the crowd of uniformed crew members. She stopped in front of a young flight attendant who looked terrified. What's your name? Sasha asked. Jessica, the girl whispered. Jessica, how many legs are you flying today? 4. New York to Boston back then, down to DC and back. That's a 14-hour day, Sasha noted. And when was the last time you got a raise? Jessica looked down. 3 years ago. Sasha turned to the room. The new Sterling Standard isn't just about being nice to passengers. It's about treating you with respect, too. Beatrice and Veronica were monsters, but they were tired, underpaid monsters. As of this morning, we are increasing base pay for all cabin crew by 15%. A shockwave went through the room. Someone gasped. And, Sasha added, raising her voice, we are doubling the crew rest time between shifts. I don't want you working exhausted. If you are happy, the passengers are happy. But in exchange, you have to promise me one thing. The room was listening with an intensity that bordered on religious. "When someone walks up to your gate," Sasha said, "whether they are wearing a tuxedo or a trash bag, you treat them like they own the airline. Because one day they might." The applause started slowly, then built into a roar. It wasn't the polite applause of the boardroom. It was the relief of a workforce that had been ruled by fear and was now being led with empathy. The winter snow was falling softly outside JFK Terminal 4. The chaos of the holiday rush was in full swing. Sasha sat in the back of the terminal's coffee shop, hidden behind a large pair of sunglasses and a scarf. She wasn't flying today. She was watching. She watched the line at the Royal Horizon counter. It was moving smoothly. There was no shouting. A young man, looking disheveled and frantic, ran up to the counter. He was clutching a backpack that was clearly too large for the carry-on sizer. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Please," the young man panted to the agent. "I'm late. My mom is sick in London. I have to get on this flight." The agent was a woman Sasha recognized, one of the old guard, someone who used to be friends with Beatrice. Sasha held her breath. 6 months ago, this agent would have pointed to the sizer, rolled her eyes, and told him to pay the gate check fee or leave. The agent looked at the boy's panicked face. She looked at the oversized bag. "Okay," the agent said softly. She didn't look at the bag again. She typed quickly. "I'm going to tag this to the destination for you so you don't have to carry it. Run to gate B42. I'll call ahead and tell them to hold the door for 2 minutes. Go." "Thank you," the boy cried, tears in his eyes. "Thank you so much." He sprinted toward security. The agent picked up the phone. "Gate B42. This is check-in. You have a runner coming. Name is David. His mom is sick. Get him on board." "Thanks." Sasha let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She took a sip of her latte, a small smile playing on her lips. Her phone buzzed on the table. A news alert popped up. Royal Horizon Airlines voted Airline of the Year by Traveler magazine. Stock hits all-time high. Sasha swiped the alert away. She didn't care about the award. She cared about the boy running to see his mother. She stood up, wrapping her scarf tighter. Her work here was done. She walked toward the exit, passing a digital billboard. It showed a new ad campaign. It didn't feature models drinking champagne in first class. It showed a diverse group of people, a student in a hoodie, a grandmother, a businessman, a musician sitting together, smiling. The slogan underneath read simply, "Royal Horizon. Everyone flies first class." Sasha pushed through the revolving doors into the cold New York air, ready for whatever challenge came next. She had learned that the biggest storms weren't in the sky. They were in the hearts of people, and she knew exactly how to navigate them. Sasha's journey wasn't just about a torn ticket. It was about tearing down a broken system. She proved that dignity isn't reserved for the wealthy, and that true power lies in how you treat the person who can do nothing for you. Beatrice and Veronica learned the hard way that when you judge someone by their appearance, you might just be picking a fight with the one person who can end your career. The riffraff in the hoodie turned out to be the queen of the castle, and justice was served cold at 30,000 feet. Enjoyed this story of instant karma and corporate justice. If you loved seeing the underdog win and the bullies get what they deserved, please destroy that. Like button, just like Beatrice destroyed that ticket. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. We post new dramas every single day. What would you have done if you were Sasha? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.